All right, folks, welcome back again. Consistency is the key. We are back with another episode of Darkness with a Ginger Hue. I am one of your amazing hosts. They call me Tokes, they call me Tuna, they call me Sir Tokes. You can call me the Nigerian Nightmare.
This guy's he's a WWE guy now all of a sudden.
Anyway. And I couldn't do this without, again, my right-hand man, the man with the plan, Slang Hugh. What's going on, Slang Hugh?
Greetings and salutations. We're back at it like a crackmatic with a crack addict. I forget I did that in the total wrong order, but you get the point if you watch the show. Welcome back. We're here with a special one. I'm looking forward to it.
Indeed. And, of course, our wonderful returning guest, Miss Latanya. LT, how you doing today?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? It's nice to see someone new on. You're Daniel, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Where are you from?
Well, I was born in England. My parents are Jamaican, but I was
okay.
born in England, London, England. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I caught it when you came on, but I'm like, I'm gonna ask him before when I get introduced. But okay, yeah, it's good to be on.
All right. And of course, our special guest, a very good friend of mine, old friend of mine, one of my old bosses, goes by the name of Danny. But of course, professionally, it's Daniel Ankle. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you doing today?
Thanks for having me on. I'm doing okay. I think I told you guys before you went on air that I'm exhausted, and I really am. But I'm really happy to do this. This is, I think, the best way to round out my Black History Month is with in this friendly room here. So.
I was going to say, thank you for giving us the time. And I know you are very busy. I mean, I follow your LinkedIn on a regular basis and you are everywhere. And I don't know if it's by choice. I see the smile because I know your smile. And when I see that exhausted, I'm just here for the smile. I know when you're done. That's why I send the message. Like, are we still on, brother? Because I mean, I saw the recent pictures. I'm like, you might not have enough for us.
Thank you for giving us the last morsel of energy.
Yes. Your old friend is just wringing out the last bit of juice out of you, my friend. So we appreciate that. Well, before we even get into the questions we have and whatnot, when you say you're busy, how busy were you in terms of, all these events?
Well, I'll say this, I started my new job at Tropicana Community Services in May of 2025. Prior to that, and Tropicana is the largest B3. You'll know what B3 is, right? Black led, black serving, black mandated organization. It's the largest in Canada. I didn't really know the extent of that though until I started working there. And so it's been busy just because of that. So from May, like everybody wants to do stuff with us. We're actually a national funder through the Supporting Black Canadian Communities initiative. So we fund other smaller organizations. And then there's all the social service work that we do. We're multi-site. So there's a lot going on. But everybody wants to partner with us. Everybody wants to do stuff with us. So it was busy. But prior to that, I worked for an organization with the city of Toronto. It was just a community center, and it wasn't specifically black serving. So what I've come to realize, and I'm really prepared for 2027 now, is Black History Month means something to B3s, and you have to be everywhere. I mean, I had to go to Gatineau, Quebec for the National Black History Month event, and then all these 2-3 events a week where you're either speaking or you're a guest. And then we hosted our own major Black History Month event. So busy, extremely busy. And I was telling somebody yesterday, I'm doing like 70 hours, 60, 70 hours easily a week. And my day starts early and often finishes late. This week I've had 3 late nights, for example. So it's really busy, but it's important work. And we worked together at Central Neighborhood House in Toronto. And that was actually one of my most favorite gigs. But this is the absolute favorite because this is one of those for us, by us moments. I'm working for my people, with my people, supporting my people. It's just amazing. So I take the busyness. I take it.
That's beautiful.
Wonderful.
I have a question. Sorry. Just to cut you off there, Talks. When you say it's Black History Month is very important to the B3s, is that in terms of funding, visibility, organization, or all of the above?
It's kind of all of the above, but I think most importantly is we have to make sure that Black History Month is acknowledged. I don't actually like to say celebrate, and I've seen. I think we may even. I don't think we did it in our event, but I've seen it, and I've been to events where we're celebrating Black History Month, and I don't think we want to celebrate it because the work ain't done, and I think we could celebrate when it's done. You know what I mean? When we could take a breather and go, okay, you know what? We're respected, we're included, we're noticed, we're acknowledged, all of that. We can celebrate then. So I'm not ready to celebrate yet, but it's really important that we acknowledge Black history. And I've had to write lots of speeches over the last little while, and one of the things I've said often, for example, is Black History Month, that granted it's only a month and people complain about that, but it's not Black History Month for us. Black history, we live it every day.
Right.
And we're writing it every day. Like, I'm sitting in a room of 4 beautiful Black people. You're writing history, right? Well, we are, because I'm in this group too.
Right.
We're writing history right now. So it's ongoing. So for B3s, and that's why I'm happy to do this, because it's really important to continue to acknowledge that Canada's history includes Black history, and Canada wouldn't be Canada without us. So I want to make sure that's so whenever I go anyway, if I get an invite to something, I'll go, and more importantly, I'll go if it's not a Black thing, because we know what we know.
Valid. Very good point.
Right?
Very good point.
Well said. I'm giving you applause for that one.
Absolutely. One of my other questions was how you feel about that.
So I lost your sound there. Second.
Yeah, it sounds kind of muffled.
Me?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
It was just the sound. Go ahead.
Do I sound better?
You're good now. You're good now.
You're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
No, I was just saying I was going to ask how you felt about Black History Month in general, but you've kind of addressed it, so I don't need to ask that again.
Mm-hmm.
But I work with somebody though. I'm not going to name any names. I don't know if he's connected to this in any way, but and he's an important figure in my organization. But he kind of, I remember last year, actually, Tropicana Community Services did not do Black History event last year, and I wasn't there. I came in May, right? And I heard that they didn't do one, and to me that was bizarre and wrong. Like, if we're the largest B3 and we don't acknowledge Black History Month, that's a huge problem, because people are looking to us to do that. So this year, I asked someone to take it on, and I said to him, it's got to be big. And I have connections to Gene Augustine, and I actually was able to get us Gene Augustine and Alvin Curling and Ryan Knight to do a panel at our place. So we went big. But this guy who's connected to my organization, he was like, okay that we didn't do it last year. And I was like, how could you possibly be okay that this organization, who we claimed, Tunde, you say you follow me. People follow me. If we didn't do a Black History Month, those people that follow me would be asking me questions, right? So I think it's really important, but not every, odd to think that a Black person doesn't think that Black History Month is important. And don't bring me that same old argument about, well, it's only 1 month and we get the shortest month. It doesn't matter. It could have been December. That's 31 days. I don't care. And why do we get a cold month and that rubbish? It doesn't matter. It gives us 28 days. We're allowed to scream and shout and yell about what our community has done and will continue to do. We get carte blanche to do that. They're not going to listen to us next month.
Exactly.
Right? They have to shut up and listen. I go into businesses. I went to CIBC Mellon a few weeks ago. They stopped and listened. Ordinarily, they probably wouldn't, but they carved out this amount of time for us to do it. So we need to respect that. Let's take advantage of it.
That's kind of how I felt about Black Lives Matter. A lot of people have a lot to say, especially in the aftermath about Black Lives Matter. And my thing is, but during that time, we got the most attention about our issues. We got to be heard during that time around the world. It was the one time the world stopped and listened to Black people. So that should count for something, regardless of the organizers and what. It's not so much about what the organizers do with the money. It's about the significance of the moment, to me.
But you know what they've done as well, just like DEI, they've white people. I'm going to start saying some things, so I hope your audience aren't offended.
Go ahead.
White people weaponized Black Lives Matter against us. And that's what the new thing is, they're weaponizing DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, against us. They're weaponizing it against us. And so for that very reason, and so I hope your audience is listening, and I hope the Black and the white folks who are listening. So I will always say Black Lives Matter. So exactly. I don't necessarily agree with the methods and the politics behind it, but Black Lives Matter. So I'm going to still say that our lives matter, and diversity, equity, inclusion is vital and important not just for black people, but for everybody.
Right.
So I'm going to always say that. Right. So even though people have and Black History Month has gotten that. Well, why Black History Month? Why not this month? Why not? That's not my problem. Right. What I know is that history in Canada, I'm from the UK. There's zero, the Windrush age. That's a huge scandal a few years ago, where the people from the Windrush age were suing the government. Right, because my parents were part of Windrush. They came over in the late 50s, early 60s, and built that country, and then they were told get out, right? Get out, right? So, and that's what's happening in the UK. It cannot happen here. We built this country. Not even we built it. We are building this country, right? It's a work in progress, and we are building it. So yeah, so use them words, man. Use it and stand behind it. Black Lives Matter, Black History Month, DEI. Don't let them weaponize them against us. Just turn it right around and throw it back in their face.
I agree. I love that. Well said. Yep.
I mean, we were just talking about all things you were just saying on our previous episode. For one thing, Slang was saying, you know what, we're not going to do the show for Black History Month at the beginning because people tend to forget, and it's just yay, and then go on your life. We made sure we had everything that was going on before it, and then we capitalized with it at the end. And it's not just now we stop. We can bring up anything Black history the next month and the month after that, because again, it is Black history. It's not just a month.
Not just a month, yeah.
It's not just a month. You're absolutely right. It's not a month.
Right?
Black, and it's a living, breathing organism. Black history, because we're writing it right now.
Right.
Right. I've been to so many things where young Black entrepreneurs are creating things, creating this country. They're doing it right now. We're writing history. So, which means, I'm a father and a grandfather. I meant to say that. I did a little talk yesterday. In my head, I was sitting in my seat going, and I didn't say it. But I'm a grandfather. I'm a father and a grandfather. So, what I'm doing now is writing history for my children and my grandchildren, and we're always going to be doing that. We're always going to be writing history, So, and that's the thing that makes me not do crazy things, because I don't want history to say Daniel did this, right, which was negative. I want them to say Daniel did this, which did so much, not only for Black people but for the country, and we're doing it every day. Every person is doing it every day.
Now, here's the scary thing about that, though, is that, and I guess it'd be hard to say, but I'm going to say, but even as a Black man or Black woman, the negative will always come to light in front of people. So no matter how good you are, they're going to find that negative and just supersede it and make it look crazy. I think that's you. And no, that's not. Everybody makes mistakes, Black, white, whatever. So for some reason, they're going to put that on the front stage and make sure that everybody knows that this person made the mistake, and forget about all the good that they've been doing for the last 10, 15, 20 years. And it sucks. But again, that's why you have to keep on continuing to remind people that you are that person. You are this person. Good. Because again, you slip up, they'll take advantage of you and you're done. I hate that.
I guess we're all from the same school. You guys are you all in Manitoba? Or are you? Or
no, me and LT are in Toronto.
Okay, so here's the thing. Everybody, anyway, I wasn't picking on Manitoba. I'm just saying, Black people everywhere. When you watch the news wherever you live, and there's a story on about something that went down, don't you cross your fingers and go, please don't let them be Black, because you know that then you walk out your door, you're gonna have to explain that to people, right? Or you're gonna have to justify it, or you're gonna have to say, no, we're not. It's
I was when I was in Ontario, the same thing. I would always fear when they had something serious go down and they started throwing out a description, like, oh my gosh, I don't want to fit this description, because the minute you step out, someone's going to be looking at you who just saw the video or saw the clip or saw the information and said, and then you get eyes on you looking at you every single way. Now, here, not so much. The demographic here is totally different because of the huge indigenous people here. So when it comes, and I'm very proud to do the Black history stuff, because I don't see as much here. It's more indigenous based. And again, just like them, I will definitely support them because they need to be heard as well. 100%. Like everything that happens, all these cliques, groups, organizations, they need to be heard, because for some reason they're pushed to the side and think they don't matter, when truly they do matter. Every one of them matter. Whether you like it or not, they matter, because like you said, we have built and are continuously building with the sweat on these people's brows, with the bruises, the bumps, and all that stuff that they're doing. It doesn't stop. It won't stop. Right down, like you said, you have your kids. I know your kids. You're now a new grandfather. So again, this is always, it's going to be ongoing. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. This is why we need to keep on putting it out there, right?
I actually have a question, and I want to pose it to LaTanya just more specifically, because I think I want to know, for everybody, how much does that pressure affect your everyday movements? And specifically to you, LaTanya, as a Black woman, do you think it's different for you than it is for us men? Like, do you feel more or less pressure, do you think? Or the same?
I feel the same. I feel regular. And I don't really, sometimes you could sense when you sense racism, even though it's not straightforward. You just certain things, how people, their movements, you could see that something's not right. It's a little bit off. And there's times where I've felt that, but it's very rare that happens. Mm-hmm. But what I was going to say before was I'm glad that we have this platform to kind of express ourselves and to say and to push this a lot, because that there's a season where, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but you notice there's like a season in time where certain cultures, like they're very magnified in certain ways, like 9/11, it was Afghan, SARS, it was Chinese, like, and unfortunately, well, I haven't really seen as much, but they haven't really pushed to show, hey, like, we're not all like this. But to know that we have like a panel of like Black people, we have Black History Month, like I'm glad that when it comes to our season, we're able to kind of push and say, we've invented this, we've done this, and but yeah, that's what I see with that. But with your question, I haven't really felt it, a lot. I just feel regular. I don't feel pressure or anything.
Okay. What about you, gentlemen?
Go ahead, Danny. You want to speak on
that?
Well,
I would say as a Black man, I feel it. There's no protection for me. I think there's protection for women in general, and so Black women can benefit from that protection. There's no protection for Black men. We are the worst of the worst imaginable. So when people imagine bad things about our race, we are the ones that they're imagining it about, not about women. It's interesting because in Toronto a couple of years ago, a homeless man was beaten to death in downtown Toronto, and then you heard that it was like 6 young women, most of them Black.
Oh yes,
that was shocking.
Yes. Yeah, it was.
Because the expectation from
Black man.
Yeah, right. The expectation is it's Black men that do those kinds of things. So there is some that's why there's shock. If they said that, these 6 Black guys from wherever did this, it'd be like, oh yeah, more of the same. There's no protection for us. And then we walk out our door, have it, after that messaging has been sent out, and we have to protect ourselves. And I would say we have to protect each other.
Yeah.
Right.
And and just to piggyback off of that, we kind of had a conversation about this earlier too. I asked the question about how Black men would feel when they're pulled over. And it's the same type of thing. Like right away, you would think more that the Black men being pulled over, it's like a thing, a date, like more, it's probably more American, but still like a Black man being pulled over. I feel like there would be more pressure on them when they're being pulled over by the police as opposed to women. Not saying that women don't get the same type of treatment, but I think it's rare that happens. So I understand what you're saying when you say that the pressure is more on men. Yeah, I could see that.
I'm going to go again to add on to that. I agree. We are the bottom of the totem pole. However, I'm going to put a little spin on it because international men, I think, are the lowest of the low. Because me growing up, I mean, I know I grew up a pretty good lifestyle, but again, when it came down to it, I had a name that no one could really understand or pronounce or whatnot. So they took me as dumb or as in you don't know whatever and so forth. So it sucks because on an international level, they take us for granted, not knowing that we are just as educated or even more educated than most of the people that have been in the country for many years. And it sucks because, again, I was saying my father, who drove cab for 40 years, we'll say, give or take, but he was a mechanical engineer, right? But because of his accent, because of when he came in terms of his age, they put him at the bottom and they told him he had to do grade 12. Meanwhile, he's at a university level being taught by German professors, top of his class. But you come here, they put you at the bottom list and you have to prove to them. Why do that person have to prove themselves knowing they've already proved themselves over here? Right?
Yeah.
It sucks. It's frustrating. And that's why my family was always big on us doing well in education, to almost stick it to them. Said, yeah, we can do this. We know how to freaking do what we need to do to get to the top.
Yeah. I met so many taxi drivers that when I would talk and converse with them, they would tell me, the ones that I do talk to, they'll most of them, they have like science and like this and that and
doctors and lawyers.
Yeah. I met a lot.
Don't get that same love when you come from somewhere else. And it could be from any country other than the ones that are represented in North America. They look down on you. Now, I don't know about the Anglo-Saxon European people coming over. I don't know if they have such a hard time, but I do know the Africans have a lot of trouble making a name for themselves, even though they're.
Well, you know what? I think there's. I remember years ago I taught a class with some. It was an immigrant women's integration program, and it was women who wanted to get into social services, and I was teaching a class with them, and I remember talking to them about privilege. I remember we talked about privilege, and I'm an immigrant, and they were immigrants. They were newer immigrants, but they were certainly immigrants as well. And I remember I said to them that I recognize my privilege. I'm an immigrant, but I recognize my privilege because I speak English with an English accent. And that little nugget there is privilege.
Yep.
Right. So Tunde, were you born in Canada?
No.
But I'm wondering if, like, somebody like you, who was born in Canada but have a name like yours, and somebody like me who wasn't born in Canada, we would be treated differently because I have an Anglo-Saxon sounding name and I speak with a British accent.
Oh, that's so fact.
Right, and that's simply racism, right? That pure and simple is racism. So what you described today is simply racism. What you describe about the taxi drivers. I drive with Uber drivers all the time. Very interesting people sometimes. And you always one guy, he's educated and his daughter is really educated. This guy I was driving with just recently, his wife wanted to be a teacher or a professor or something. I forgot what she wanted. A doctor. It was a doctor. And she hit hurdle after hurdle after hurdle because every time she did what they said, they created another hurdle for her. She actually had to go out of province because another province had easier things for her to get what she needed to do. And she came back after that 2-year stint of doing it. She needed 2 years of something, but she couldn't do it in Ontario. So she went to, I don't know, Vancouver or somewhere, came back, and then she needed something else. So they just create these barriers on top of barriers on top of barriers. It reminds me of, that's racism by policy. Right? And I was talking to somebody else the other day about poverty. And poverty is manufactured by governments, right? Poverty is, years and years ago, the United Way in Toronto did a study, and they called it poverty by postal code. And they identified places in Toronto where poverty was most prevalent, and it was by postal code. And so that's how they were going to focus their work. That's changed now. It's not poverty by postal code, it's poverty by policy. So it can be anywhere. There are policies that are created that keep certain groups poor.
Yes.
And it's the same thing, racism by policy. It keeps certain groups outside. And so that's why we need those positions of power. We need to be in politics. We need to impact policy. And that's my goal. In this job, this is the best job I've had in the sense that I get to do that because I get to sit down with politicians and bureaucrats and say to them, that's not working, that's not right, and that's not okay. And because you've got to change policy. I don't want your money. I want the policy.
Another question you kind of answered. I was going to ask. Is how important it is. But before I ask, I just want to answer my question a little bit. In that, the pressure, I do feel the pressure. I am torn at this point. Well, within the last few years of my life, in that I try to take a conscious effort to not buy into the pressure. What I mean by that is that I give a simple example. Once upon a time, walking into any store, I'd make it a point to let the people that are working in the store know that I'm not the type that's going to steal, or I'm not the type that's going to do something crazy in there. I'm not that guy. I'm the good black guy. I used to make it I used to make sure I'm pointing to the clothes I want to get. I'm holding it up. I'm doing all these extensive actions just so that they're more comfortable with me being there. Nowadays, I'm just like, I'm not doing that no more. I'm not. And sometimes it's subconscious, because even today, I went into the grocery store. I went to a self-checkout, and I made sure that I positioned myself so that the woman could see that I emptied my bag. And then after I'm thinking, I'm doing it, I'm thinking to myself, why am I doing this? This is stupid. But it's still ingrained, right? This is how we were trained coming up, because we've been followed in stores, and I had this argument with a guy once on social media about, what do you know about being oppressed? You live in a first world country, you're in Canada, and you're fine, you have a job. I said, bro, oppression is as simple as me walking into a store and them following me around the store because they think I'm going to steal. That's a simple form of oppression, and you don't know what that does to your psyche. And it definitely puts a pressure on you to be one of the good ones. So I nowadays, even though I understand it, I try my best not to play along with it, because I think it just continues it. It just helps feed 100%. The beast that we need to be different to prove that. Sure, in some ways, I guess that is applicable. Like you guys said, education, maybe you have to stand out more to get what you need to get, or stand on your job and so forth and so on. But I just don't like the idea that we buy into that, what I like to call a slave mentality of proving to master that we're one of the good slaves. No, bro, I'm not a slave at all. I'm not a slave at all. But yeah. But yes, my question was, and I know we're not going with the questions, Tokes, but I love the conversation.
No, this is smooth. I love this. We had a plan and it just went out the door.
Sometimes it happens that way.
Hey, Black people are creative. That's what it is.
That's what we do, right?
We on the fly, folks. We on the fly.
Again, a question for almost everybody on the panel, if you feel the answer. How important is the Black voting, politics in general? I know, again, most of us, including me, don't necessarily believe in the system in general, so it's hard for us to buy into the idea that we should be voting and we should be active in politics. How important is that?
I think I took voting for granted, because you always sit there and say, they're never gonna change. They're never gonna change. But you just imagine. I mean, we talked about the whole Black Lives Matter movement. If you have enough people to talk, to vote, people will listen. People will understand, and change will happen. So I now, in my older years, take the time to go out and research and understand who is the better choice for whatever situation we're voting for, and then make that move. I might be just one vote, sure, but I just know in my heart that I did my best. I did my due diligence and put a check mark to the person who I think will represent me in whatever situation that we're representing. That's just my answer there.
Valid.
I think black people, well, we do ourselves a disservice when we do not vote. We are not the US, so we didn't come up through those times where we weren't allowed to, and even women weren't allowed to at some point, right? But there are people that have fought to get the vote, and we live in a democracy. On the news the other day, they were showing the Iranians. They were doing this massive protest. I guess they were all over the world doing it, but they did a big thing in Toronto, and they were talking to people, and those folks were just bawling and begging for democracy. So we have it. We have democracy, and change will only happen when we understand what that is and utilize it to our advantage. So if we and when we don't vote, we don't have we no vote, no voice. It's simple as that. If you don't vote, you don't have a voice. So you don't vote, and then you complain that taxes are high, or you don't vote and you complain that education suddenly is unaffordable, or that whatever. You didn't vote though, right? You didn't exercise this opportunity you have to make a change. And I wonder, looking around the room at each of us, if any of us had decided to run for some office, would we vote for each other? Or would we still be apathetic and say, nah, I'm still not going to vote? I know you well. I know what you stand for. And I know you'll do good, but I ain't got the time, man. I can't be bothered. Or it won't matter. There's not enough of us. That's kind of, so we got to change that. I think I don't know if it's the US only, but there's the Operation Black Vote. I think they have it in Canada too.
I think they do, yes.
Each one of us here, when your next elections come around, and particularly a federal election, we need to get behind our local Black Vote affiliates and support that. We need to get the Black voice out there, because remember I said we need to change policy, and we're not going to change policy in the bar or in the gym or wherever else we might be hanging out, basketball court. I'm being really kind of stereotypical here. Black people on the basketball court, but we're not going to change policy.
What about the golf? We're at the golf club.
Yeah, that's more like it. Yes, exactly. But we're not going to change policy if we're not in the boardroom, in the room where it's being made, right? And so we have to get ourselves on the ballot, and then we have to vote for ourselves. That's what we need to do. And it's simple, right?
Mm-hmm. Elle, how do you feel?
I feel like it's easy to feel like your vote doesn't matter, with the noise and the headlines and things like that. For me, I kind of need to take the time to learn a little bit more, because I don't know enough.
Me too.
So I feel like I'm a part of that world where it doesn't matter, and it is because of the noise and the headlines and things like that. And back in the day, like my mom, she was always, whenever it would come to the voting, make sure you vote for Trudeau, like.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
I didn't, because I didn't know anything, I would be like, okay.
Love a JT.
Oh,
fine boy.
Because his father was the reason most of our parents got here.
She grew up with his dad. So
yeah. So then it was like, we gotta like the son too. We have to.
Just automatically gotta like the son. And because I don't know much, I just, she says it, all right, I'll vote for it. And but no, it definitely is. Like, even though I said that I'm a part of that, where I don't think that anything's gonna happen. At the same time, it's a very important tool that we do have that can, like Daniel was saying, with the amount of people that do hit one way with voting, you can get more of a answer right way. If we do it, if we vote, we'll get more of an answer as opposed to not voting at all. Is what I'm trying to say. I was like kind of stopping and going, but that's what I mean. So yeah, it's important. I think it's really important. And for me personally, I feel like I just need to take the time to learn a little bit more when it comes to politics, for me to be more serious about voting.
I want to piggyback off your question there, Slime, because as much as we as Black people, we should get out there and vote, I'm trying to compare it to the U.S. The U.S. divide is really just black or white, or color versus non-color. Where in Canada, you have white, black, indigenous, and then you have others. So when you say, more Black people need to go to vote in Manitoba, that's kind of hard to do, because it's more indigenous based, and they're going to vote for their own. So as much as we have our own, they have their own, and they're going to push their agenda in there. So do you think the province or whatever location that you're trying to vote for has a what's the word that will tip the scale in your voting? So for instance, how you vote in Toronto, which is a heavily urban situated location, versus Alberta. Like, or even Manitoba or Saskatchewan. Like there's different dynamics in different provinces. I don't know. I know we have the South and everything in the U.S. and certain people vote a certain way because of whatever. But I'm seeing Canada. I mean, going across, how you would see things in Ontario is going to be totally different from how you see things in Alberta and how you see things in Manitoba. So when you say voting, do you think it's going to change, or do you think we could change how the vote is with the different provinces?
Well, I think. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say something quick. Saying when I was talking about the tools, it does definitely shapes the world around you. So when it comes to funds for school and how your
community organizations,
things like that, it's really important in who you vote for in that sense. And that's what I think people need to just kind of just try to take the time to understand a little bit more, that if you don't want a certain person, then let's come together and vote this way then, and try to understand and know that this is what voting can do for you, because it just shapes the world around you anyways.
That's why I think it's more important to vote for your local politicians, more so than the prime minister and even the premier, more the mayor, the
local councillors
and whatnot,
that type of thing, because they actually represent your everyday life more than the federal government does. And you could get to know these people and know what they represented. And to your question today, I think because this has always been my gripe, especially on the prime minister level, is the idea that I'm voting for the lesser of two evils. I think you have to find somebody that you identify with, you feel that you could trust, or that is representing your interests, and vote for that person rather than vote by party, which a lot of people do. Oh, because I'm simply a liberal, so I'm voting for whoever is a liberal. Right now, like I might not even vote liberal right now. I'm pretty much growing up my whole life, that's what my parents voted for. But I don't know if I'd vote liberal now, considering they don't align. A friend of mine always says, if you've been voting for the same party your whole life, something's wrong with you. You're not actually looking at the issues, because things should change for you.
Right. So if you've been voting for the same person your entire life, and your life is exactly the same as it was when you started to vote for them, you're voting for the wrong person or the wrong party, clearly. Right. And you need to examine that. I think also you need to be strategic in your voting today. To your point, if most of the voters in your province or even in your cities are indigenous, then we have to align ourselves with those that closely meet, as close to what we need as well. But to be strategic, because I think what happens is people go, well, you don't represent me, so I'm just not going to vote anyways. Like that lesser of two evils thing. If people go, I'm not going to vote for the lesser of two evils, I'm just not going to vote. But again, no vote, no voice, right? And every vote counts. So you got to make it count in the right place. That's all. Because if you don't vote, then more of the people that you don't want will get in.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you can also vote for no one. Like you could say that you actually vote, but you're not voting for anybody that's running, type thing.
Your vote is voided?
Vacant?
No, I don't think you can unvote.
No, you can't. Okay.
No, you can't unvote. So when you go, you have to check a box. You have to cross the thing, and they're voting for someone. And if you do it wrong, it's the spoiled ballot, and it gets destroyed. So it actually doesn't count. And so that's what people do. If they're going to protest a vote, they spoil their ballots. So they actually go in, spoil the ballot. Like you get to vote for one of these, and one of these. They vote for two of those, and spoil it, and it just gets destroyed. They feed it into a machine now, so it doesn't even have to get checked. The machine just
So it just doesn't count at all.
Yeah, so people do that as a protest. I think that's a stupid thing. Yeah, I think that's not good. Like, vote for something. Don't not vote for something, if you see what I mean.
It makes more sense than people know, is that, hey, you know what? There's going to be a time where you're voting or you're not voting, and that non-vote could be the deciding thing that changes your life. And you never know, right? You never know. So again, get out there and make a difference.
And when you unvote, you're basically providing an opportunity for something that's going to be not good for you, detrimental to you, your people, your family, your neighborhoods, whatever. You're voting for that for 4 years. So think about it. That protest you make, that stand you take by spoiling your ballot, then you have to live with the fact that your property taxes or your whatever is going to change. So make your point, but make it a positive point rather than a negative point.
Exactly. 100%. 100%.
Valid.
This makes some good sense with a question that we had. Said I'm going to ask this question actually, talking about the Black Canadian identity. All right. The question here is basically, do we get erased between U.S. and Africans, and how do we differ when it comes to Black Canadian identity? Anybody want to chime in on that? Because again, as an African, I think we're more accepted in Canada than we are anywhere else anywhere else in North America. But at the same time, there's still that big divide. I don't know why, but there is between Caribbean and African, and then Caribbean Canadian. And I just don't know. To this day, I still don't know why there is a divide. We're all in the same.
Where'd you see that? Where'd you see that divide?
Yeah, I was going to say that. I think that's the actual Black Canadian identity, is that we're more together here than our counterparts in the U.S. who are having the FBA argument versus the immigrants and you're not a real Black American because you weren't born here. You're from Africa. Or you're from Jamaica, so you're not really American like we are. I don't think we have that issue in Canada as much. At least
not as much. I've seen it again, just because I'm kind of more aware of my surroundings. But you're right. I mean, it's more of a divide per se in the South, in the USA. But there still is a divide. I mean, we are multicultural, and we're getting to a point where we're getting used to our surroundings of different cultures, of different backgrounds, and so forth. But there is still a divide. But my question is really, why is there a divide?
Well, do you know what? So can I rephrase that? I kind of, because why is there a divide? I don't think is the right question. I think, where is the divide? If one exists, where is it? What does it look like? What is that, right? Because I think if we wanted to address it, we'd have to know where it is. Because to say why is there a divide is asking the next question. It's like, where is the divide? And then why is the divide? Right? So I would want to know, where do we see that divide? And I think it's almost, I think what the issue for me is that I think that Black people are still getting used to the notion that there is intersections. So in other words, we're not just Black. Like, 3 of us in this room are Black, but we're also male. 1 of us in this room is Black but female. That's an intersection, right? So that the identity that you look for, what is the Canadian Black identity? It's loaded with intersections, right? You're African, I'm Caribbean. I think the others of us are Caribbean. I don't know, but there's those intersections. We've got males and females and all kinds of other things. Even to talk about education. So when we look at diversity exists just within the Black community alone, right? And so the Black identity, what we have to stop thinking is Black identity is one-dimensional, and think more like Black identity is multi-dimensional.
Right.
Right? That might erase the divide that you see if we think about the multi-dimensions of Blackness. We're highly educated and we are basic educated. We are wealthy and we are poor. We are, all kinds of things, right? There's all these intersections that form the Black identity. And so if we think about it like that, the divide doesn't exist. Because if I think about intersection, then I can accept you as being African and I can accept you as being female. And still Black.
Unless it's meant because I feel like sometimes Black Canadians are kind of blurred. I feel like they're blurred. Internationally, people they automatically think we're, American or recently African or Caribbean, but why can't we be Canadian? There's many Canadians that have probably been here longer than the regular white, Canadian. So, I mean, unless kind of piggybacking off it, that's what the division.
But I think even also to piggyback off of what you're saying, I think that is our our identity. Black Canadians, like Daniel was saying, are not a monolith. I mean, Black people, period, are not a monolith. But especially here, with my experience, we are allowed to celebrate our individual cultures and still be Black. And we intersect into each other's cultures. Like, I have African friends or friends of African descent, or I have friends of Trinidadian and even American, or all from all over the world, but we're all Black. And we can identify or we connect on certain things, but maybe not everything at the same time, while experiencing each other's identities and cultures. And I think that's what sets us apart from, say, America, where they feel if they're Black, it's a certain type of Blackness, or Blackness is fit into a certain box. Here, I don't think we have a box. At least I don't believe so. I don't think we have a Black Canadian born box, because most of us are first generations anyway. Most of us just got here, pretty much, in the grand scheme of time. So when you say there's a divide, I don't know. Unless I don't know if that's a newer generation thing, or maybe even an older, before my time generation thing. Because growing up, there wasn't really a divide that way. The divide might have came in. Sorry to cut you off again, but the divide might have came in. Interestingly enough, and I'm speaking about when I was a child. If a kid came in from a different country, then all of us that were already here might look at that kid as different and strange, and you're not really one of us. But as you grow up, it's like, oh, okay, you're one of us, and it's just about a cultural assimilation, so to speak.
Okay. That answers.
I just want to pick up on the blurred thing, because I really like that.
Yeah.
That Blackness is kind of blurred here. What I heard of one, or somebody said, made a comment or an observation about the term BIPOC, and they didn't like it, and I stopped liking it when I heard what they said, because you know what, you're right. BIPOC lumps everyone that's not white in one thing.
That's why I don't like it either.
Well, that blurs the Blackness out of us, right?
Right.
It totally
it takes it totally away from us.
Black, Indigenous, and people of color. It's almost insulting, if you ask me, as I think about it. So I don't use that term. I was doing some stuff with the Ontario College of Teachers, and we were writing some document thing, and they put in their BIPOC, and I go, you know what, I'm not gonna be okay with that. Like, we can say racialized, or there's other things we can say, but the BIPOC thing lumps everybody that isn't white, and that's what BIPOC does. Everyone that isn't white fits into that box, and everybody else that blurs us completely. It blurs everybody. Africans, Chinese, Latinos, everyone is blurred into this category called BIPOC. And they actually made it into a word. So it's an acronym, obviously, but they made it into a word. So, the BIPOC community, there is no such community. Like, there's no such community as BIPOC.
Yeah, I never heard that one, but
it is an acronym, and I'm like, I'm taking it in. I'm like, yeah, man, you're right. You're just lumping us all in one.
Yeah, don't use it. Don't use it.
You're creating a bigger divide.
Yeah,
like a bigger divide.
Yeah,
that's more visual, because again, you're putting everybody in that one pot, and you're just excluding the white. I'm like,
right.
Wow.
So if you want to generalize about people that aren't white, then say racialized, right? Use that term, because BIPOC is too specific. Black, Indigenous, people of color. That's way too specific. Racialized covers everybody, and you can self-identify within racialized however you like. If it's BIPOC, I might actually be left out of it if I don't identify BIP.
Right.
Wow.
And I also think it's a veiled attempt to co-opt Black issues into everybody else's issues, similar as it has it's been done throughout history. Sorry, and we might get canceled when I say this, but sort of like how the Jewish community jumped into the civil rights band, and then once they got their rights, we don't really care about the Black people. Go ahead, do your thing. You're on your own. I feel like that is what this BIPOC thing is. A lot of, again, might get canceled, but Indian and Asian people are using our issues to get their problems fixed, and then what happens after that? I don't know if they're going to be BIPOC anymore. That's
right. And you know what it does as well. So
using it to get to the front of the line. That's
right.
it.
Right,
To get their problems
exactly.
from the line.
If you look at funding, government funding, for example, and they earmark it for BIPOC communities, there's a finite pot of money, and instead of black people getting what we're supposed to get, it's going to the community that's called BIPOC, and it's shared out amongst all the people that ain't white.
Right.
Right. So that's why at Tropicana, that's why I love what I do at Tropicana, because. And we talked about this a lot. I've only been there like 10 months, but we've talked about it a lot because there was some notion to change black, because I'm black, just so you know, folks. I just want to let your listeners know in case they can't see me. I'm black, right? I'm not colored. I'm
Me
not,
too.
I'm not only any of those things. I'm black. I'm not some Afro-Indigenous, I heard someone say, or Afro-descendant. I'm black, right? So that BIPOC thing, if you were going to spread it out, break it up, I'm the B of BIPOC. I'm black. So we've had this conversation quite a bit because what we look for is and we're black led. So I don't want anybody on my board that ain't black, right? And I don't want anybody in my leadership team, excuse me, that isn't black. We'll serve anyone, but primarily we're going to serve the black community and black individuals and families and communities. But we'll serve anyone. We're not going to turn anyone away. But black. And so we have to own that. Right, own our blackness. And this person on my organization who wanted to sort of dilute it down to make the white people feel comfortable. I'm like, you know what? Nah, I'm black.
Sometimes
we black.
Uncomfortable.
So speaking to that, Daniel, because I have this again, one of my revolutionary mindset when it comes to black people hiring and working with their own. Again, I think we have a stigma in which we don't like to do that because we don't want to make the white people scared, or we want to make everybody else scared. What do you say to people who would say to your statement just now that you don't want anybody on the board that is not black, that's it's not inclusive?
No, they'll tell me it's racist because I've heard that.
I was trying to be nice.
Don't dress it up. Don't dress it up. That's what they say. Don't dress it up. That's what they say, right? They say it's racist, right? So I'll give you an example. So a few months ago, I was hiring a position. I have to be mindful. I don't know who your listeners are, who your viewers are. So I'm going to be mindful of disclosing anything. But anyways, I was hiring for a position, and I was working with some external consultants, and we had got down to the final two. And it was an important role. It's a leadership role. So you already know my stance. Leaders in my organization should represent, right? For lots of reasons, but mostly it's not an optics thing. It's mostly of a lived experience thing, right? If you're going to be, and the leaders in my organization are going to be leading other staff, right? And so there has to be a lived experience. You have to be able to communicate in a way that they understand. You have to understand, be empathetic and all of that. Anyways, we came down to the two final people, and it was an open call. So the two final people, one was a white lady and one was a black lady. She was Nigerian. Both good, because I didn't sit in on all the stages of it. If I sat in at the end, and they were both good, and so we're having this last final interview with both these candidates, and then they both left, and then we started having our discussion, and we talked, and then I was like, I'm already resolute in my head. I want the black lady, but I had to rush to another meeting, so I go, okay, you know what my feelings are. I'm voting for the black person, but I didn't say I said the name. I didn't say the black person. I'm voting for X, and then I left to my meeting, and then later on that afternoon, I get an email from one of the people who was helping us, one of the consultant people. And she said, we had this discussion, we had a very lively discussion after you left, and we decided to go with Y, not X. And the reason why she decided, or she said, she was conveying, the reason why they went with Y was because they were both equally skilled. They had the same level of skill, but that Y brought a different thing than X did. So I emailed back promptly and said, if they are equally skilled, I will take X. Because if X and Y were interviewed in a Y organization, Y would automatically be selected. So I am doing the reverse of that. They're both skilled. I'm not losing anything. I'm taking X. And that was the end of the story. So that's important. That to me is important. I would hire X's over Y's every single time. And then there's some key jobs. There's some key jobs in my organization. Like we just hired a youth program coordinator. That person had to be X, because the youth that they're working with are going to be X. And we interviewed all kinds of people, Asians, everybody. But at the end of the day, I need someone who's qualified but X.
Yes. I agree.
So then in that case, then everybody's racist because I find that cultures do that. It's not
I
just
was
the
I was
black.
gonna go there. I was gonna go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
Protect your own.
You know where I live,
I mean, you
LP.
could,
You
yeah,
know
you
where
could
I live.
piggyback off of me saying because that's the main thing that stuck out in my head when Daniel was talking.
That's
But
what they
but that's not racism, right? So
right. That's what I was just gonna say. That's what they
catch up yourself.
kids
It's
to
not
do.
racism.
Because
It's not racism.
here's the thing about it. Here's the thing. And again, you know where I live. I live in Brampton, which is a heavily East Indian community.
Mhm.
And if you go into any, and it's to the point where I was gonna say, if you go into any of their establishments, it's only them working there. But it's to the point where if you go into any Tim Hortons, any Wendy's, any McDonald's, any Swiss
Mhm.
Chalet, any Walmart, well, Walmart's still fighting the good fight, quote unquote, but and they hire their own. And I don't see anything wrong with that because it creates a power in the community. That's how as much up in arms as a lot of people are about the Indian immigration in Ontario and across Canada, that's how they got their power. That's how they are able to make things shift in their favor by putting themselves in positions.
We don't do it enough, guy. We don't.
We do not
here's the
do it
thing.
enough at all.
That's how white people have their power.
I was gonna go there at first.
It was like,
Exactly.
come on.
That's how it started.
They just took the playbooks like, chapter 1. Okay, 2.
But then how is it okay for them to do it and not for us? How is it racist when I do it and not when they do it?
Exactly.
Right? It's absolutely not. All those organizations you described, Tim Hortons and all McDonald's, they're all franchises. If I bought a franchise, I'm hiring my people them.
Straight up. Me too.
Seriously. My family, my friends, my people them.
Yep.
In my franchise. We'll serve anyone. I'll take anyone's money. But I'm bigging up my people. This is what you talk about power. It's the economic power that's in the Chinese communities and the East Indian communities is because of that. It's because of that. And we ain't got nothing. We don't do it. Crabs in a barrel, man.
If they say you're racist, then everyone's racist.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
That's why that's what they teach us, and we buy into it. And again, it goes all the way down to we don't hire our own people because we feel like they're a reflection of us. You think these guys care if they hire an Indian person and that guy's a terrible worker? They don't care. They just fire him and hire another one. What's the problem?
There's enough for them to go. But I'm a little different though. I'm not hiring just any black person. I'm hiring the best black person. I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to basically do in this process of mine is I'm hiring 2 more senior positions in my organization, and they're going to be. I shouldn't say this on camera. I'm hiring 2 more senior positions in my organization. It's really important that they represent. That's the best way to put it, right? Yes. It's really important that they represent the organization and the people we serve, and that there is some kind of connection with that. And I'm doing that because it strengthens our organization and it strengthens our people. And so I can't do anything as the leader of the organization that would destroy that would break that down. And the best and I'm going to prove a point. The point I'm proving is that there are black leaders in our society, in our communities. They exist, right? And so all I have to do is reach out and bring them in, right? When I came there, it wasn't like that, by the way. I've been there 10 months, and it's cleaner, if you will, because that didn't exist before. And when somebody left, I didn't hire. I hired a black person, and I didn't deliberately look for a black person. I looked for the best person who was black. That's what I did.
See, when you word it that way, that's strength right there. The best person who is black, not the black person who's the best. No, there's a difference.
No, I'm looking for the best person. Listen, they're a reflection of me as well, right? So I want the best person who's black.
They have to be qualified.
Yeah. And black is a qualification, by the way. Hello.
I love it. I love that.
Daniel is real with it. Real with it. Yeah. Let me just give him my resume real quick. Hold on.
You can take mine too.
Just kidding. Sleep on that
LinkedIn follow.
Exclamation mark. I qualify.
Well, you're just lucky you black, because right, you could check that box, right?
At least bare minimum. I want to say Daniel's not saying it, but I'll say it. No Rachel Dozals.
Precisely, and I can see through that, anyways, right? Don't worry about it. I can see through that.
Now, I have a question on terms of your process that you were just explaining. Were you getting a lot of pushback based on the way you were hiring people? in the organization once you take over? Like, because again, a lot
No,
of
because you know what? We do it in a fair, transparent, open way all the way. So it's an open call. Every recruitment competition is open. And there's it doesn't say like we don't say we are looking for black people. We say you have to either identify or understand, or you say words. People have to self-eliminate. And if a white person, having read all of those things, feels that they're qualified, absolutely, or non-black person, I should say, submit your resume. Right, and we're going to look at the resumes. Do you know what I do though? I'm really bad for this though. When I get a whole pile of resumes in, I'll do like a spot check and I'll pull out a person and I'll look at what they've done and then I Google them.
What's wrong with that? Nothing's wrong with that.
Right, I Google them. Because the thing, this is the first time I've applied to a job and been accepted in a job that is predominantly or is a black-led, black-serving organization. But I imagine that the other jobs that I've applied for, do you know how I know people look me up? I've been for interviews, and then when I came home, somebody who was in the interview wanted to connect with me on LinkedIn. So they've obviously checked me up. Right. Or before I got an interview, I got then you go, wait a minute, that person works at that job I just applied for. The people are looking at you. So I'm not doing anything unusual. What I also do is, because you see how my mouth is big here, in the process, I don't screen. I don't screen, and I don't do first interviews for senior positions. I don't do that. So when they come to me, my hope is that HR would have done their job and found the best person who's black, or the best people who are black. I think it went a little astray that other time was because we were using some external folks to help us with the hiring. And so the pool was much broader. And that was fine. Because you know what the thing is, in order to find the best, you have to interview the best, right? So, and the best could include a lot of different people. Different races, different backgrounds. That's what you have to do. But I want the best person who's black. And what we found in this job, in X and Y, was the best person who was black. There was a good person who was not black, but I got the best person who was black.
That makes more sense.
I just want to comment, and I find it interesting that you chose X, Malcolm X, and not Y. People, well, I'm talking. Go, it's not Daniel talking. I'm talking.
Go ahead. You're getting the horns for that one, bro. Wow. Now, I do have a comment. In my previous position, I was a manager for, again, around 10 months. And I'm not sure if you have ever experienced this, but I was managing like-minded and people who look at me, mostly African women, and they said, do you know how proud they were that manager? Like, they saw me, and then you see the name, and then you hear me, and I'm like, but I told them right off the back, listen, I'm the proudest person you can ever see, that I have all these people from my country that I am managing. So I'm not going to be, going Y. I'm giving you X. I'm giving you all of me because I want everybody who is around me to succeed, right? And they loved it. So when I was moved away from that position, it was an uproar. They were wondering why. This is the best person they've had in a while because the person understood their culture, their struggles, their issues, and so forth. Like-minded Black people will gravitate to a leader or a person of their own color. It just makes
at least
sense.
It should.
It should. So I was, like I said, I felt proud. So I was going to ask you, Danny, seeing that you're hiring this way, when you got in, I don't know who was there before, but when you got in, was there a shift of energy when you got into that position based on who you are?
They've always had a black leader in my organization, so there wasn't necessarily a shift of energy towards my blackness. There perhaps may have been a shift of energy towards my style of leadership, which is very inclusive and building up the team. And I spent a lot of time in the first 2 months just building up the team. So there was a shift in that. What it is that we have 6 strategic priorities in our organization, and I think number 6 is organizational excellence, and that's kind of what I use to justify a lot of things I do. In other words, as a B3, black-led, black-serving, black-mandated organization, in order for us to be excellent, there have to be people that understand what that means for black people. And so you have to have some, and people, people self-identify and whatever, and you come to my organization, into our organization in whatever way you come, right? So, because there are people that are, there may be people who are not black but are married to black people and they feel a strong connection. There's no problem, right? Just for me, being a B3, like I can't own B3 if black led means your leaders are black. So I can't have 4 black leaders and 1 non-black leader and call myself a B3, because we're not then. And my board has to be black because it's a B3, black led. We are black mandates, so our mandate is to serve that community. We will serve anybody, but that's our mandate. And black serving, right? So all those B's have to add up. And so in order for us to be excellent, we have to follow those things. Otherwise it's diluted. And because we're the largest B3, a lot of people look up to us. And everywhere I go, I feel the weight. When I first started this job, I felt the weight, but I feel it ever so much now, because wherever I go, I recognize and realize that people are looking up and going, here's a black man in a senior position. I post everything, like, as you know, on my LinkedIn, because I want people to see that I get to talk to all kinds of different big people. And I'm doing that not for me. I'm doing that for other people to see that space where somebody's going to have to come and fill it when I'm gone, and it can be you. So I want people to see that there's opportunity for them to go there. A couple of years ago, I was the keynote speaker at Convocation at George Brown Polytechnic, and there was a dinner for, I got an award as well, and there was a dinner for awardees hosted by the president, and you got to get tickets for it. And I remember I brought my ex-wife and my son, and I really wanted my son to go. But Troy, just see if you can get the day off work. I really wanted him to be there because I wrote my acceptance with him in mind. And basically what I said was, I'm accepting this, not for me, but for people like my son, who I want him to see that this is where you can be as well. I really wanted him to see that. And then when it was Convocation Day and I was doing my presentation, those same people, and my son brought his partner as well, were my guests of honor, and they could see me make this thing and get my award in public and everything. And I do that wherever I go. I want people to see that black men in particular, because I know a lot of successful black women, got to tell you, up there, doing their thing and shining. But black young boys don't see us. They don't see us in those positions. They see us on the basketball court, like on TV. They see us in football and all. They see us entertainment and acting and things like that. But they don't see us in the boardrooms and in the things. So I want them to see that, and I really work hard to do that. So I'm really mindful of my public persona. Because I want them to Google me and look me up and see. Like, if you Google me, you will not find one bad thing, but you'll find there's maybe 10 pages of Google now on me. But it's all good. And I want people to be able to Google. They meet you and Google and go, who is this? And see all these things that I've done and go, wow. So I feel the weight of that. That's why I take it seriously when I hire somebody, that they represent what we are trying to achieve at our organization. Black excellence. That's what it is. Black excellence.
Representation matters.
And it exists. Black excellence exists, right? Let's show the world.
Of course. That's wow. All right. Slang, you had a question, yes?
One of our questions, which he just mentioned about Black excellence. So the question is, how do we balance the Black excellence narrative with the reality of mental health and systematic barriers in our communities?
That's not to me, right?
It's to everybody.
Everyone's like,
yeah, right.
I mean, I guess we kind of touched on it in terms of the pressure of keeping up the image and the.
Well, no, don't say image, because that kind of like I'm as a performance. It's right. So right. I mean, there is an image. Obviously, people see that, right? But it's not that at all. It's the responsibility.
Right. Yes, the responsibility.
Right? The responsibility. I feel like when I came into my organization was a little bit in disarray before I got there, and I felt like this is so conceited, right? So forgive me, my fellow guests on this show and the audience. It's going to be really conceited, but I felt like Barack Obama when I arrived at my organization. Like I had to clean up a little bit of a mess, right? But also like that they were looking for somebody to come and help them. Like the staff were, not necessarily the board, but the staff were looking for someone. And that's when I say I felt the weight. That's the first way I felt, was you stepped into this space and you realize these people were looking for somebody. I remember saying to somebody not too long ago at my work, listen, I'm not the Messiah, right? Like I didn't come to save you. Like I'm not the Messiah. But that's what they were looking for. So I feel that responsibility. Well, that's internally within my organization. I feel it even more out externally. I feel that people are looking at, and so that's where mental health goes. I'm actually, this week in Toronto, it's Black Mental Health Week, and our organization is hosting the opening ceremony, and I have to do a little talk. And I was thinking about what I was going to say. So I hope nobody from Toronto is here because it's a spoiler alert. But what I was going to say was, I was going to talk about the isolation that you feel at this level as a Black person. Like if you're a leader in an organization, anybody been a leader in an organization? First of all, we don't have peers. Like there's no, it doesn't go that way. It's you're at the top, right? So who do I huddle with at the water cooler? I don't have peers in my organization, right? And then the closest thing to me are my board, but I actually work for them, so they're still not my peers. So it's really isolating. And so the pressure, there's like, people at work, middle managers, frontline workers, whatever, they can complain and bitching about work to each other. And they'll even understand, yeah, he wasn't he? And they can do that. I don't have that in my work. So it's really hard because, and you know what the thing is, you don't want to necessarily talk to your external peers about it. Not that it's a secret, but they don't understand because you're not actually at my organization dealing with what I'm dealing with specifically. So there's no one to talk to. So the pressure is really, really hard. And you have to figure out ways to get through that. I work out every single day. That's my thing. I cannot go to work without working out because I need to set myself up to deal with whatever it is. And so if something gets really sticky, it's just me. Right. And so, but I feel mentally prepared, physically prepared to do that. But it's really hard. So that's where, if you talk about mental health, excellence has a price.
Yes.
It's not free.
Yes.
At every level, though, at any type of occupation, excellence. You can talk sports, you can talk entertainment, you can talk politics.
Comes with a price.
It comes with a price, and again, you can see the mental. I mean, I was watching a show where a person was retiring from a sport, and I said, you know what, I feel so bad because I missed all these things for my family because of what I did to be at the top of my game for so long. Like, yeah, I understand that, and you can say the same thing with yourself. You're at a certain level, you need to maintain that level. There's going to be things that's going to be taking from you because you're giving to stay at this level. So I get it 100%. There's always a sacrifice. There's always going to be a sacrifice for you to stay on top, and for you to maintain that. You need your routines. You need your quirks to keep yourself in line of what your goal, of what you see yourself wanting to be or projecting to be out there in front of your peoples. So again, and
remember the added pressure of being a Black man in that leadership position, right? So I suspect lots of leaders feel that isolation, but then there's the added pressure of being a Black man because all eyes are on me. And it's sometimes I don't feel this. I'm pretty sure I don't feel this anyways. Is they're looking for me to fail. I don't think I feel that, but I think it exists. Is that you have to try, but you always have to work harder when you're Black, right? You always have a little bit more you have to do, and so that pressure is there as well. I get a blight in Black History Month because everybody's like, la-di-da-di-da, it's Black History Month. But come March the 1st.
Black Christmas
back
is
on the
over
ground.
March the 1st.
Back, boots on the ground, back on it, letting everybody know who you are and what we stand for. I definitely understand and agree with that, for sure. Wow.
To go with the question as well, I was also going to say, kind of going off of what Daniel was saying, is that we always celebrate resilience, but we never really talk about the exhaustion of it.
Right.
Yeah. Oh God. Beautiful words there, right there.
Yeah, and when you said, the pressure, there's that pressure of, being the only one, you know what I mean, like, and the stigma and all that stuff. It's just like, let's talk about it.
And you can't mess up, right?
Yeah.
Because you're a Black man, so they expect. That's maybe where it comes from. Actually, they're expecting that you're going to mess up because you're a Black man or just a Black person. Period. Right? And you're not going to do a good job. You guys can't even manage your money, let alone manage your organization. You can't manage your people. You can't manage your people. You can't. All those kind of things. So there's an expectation, perhaps, and we've got to stop owning that. I suppose. I really do try to rise above it. The thing is. I'm glad that my organization has a little bit of clout. And I'm glad that I'm in a position in that organization that has clout, because I'm not going to shut up to you. So my organization supports me in my push, and I'm going to just keep my big mouth open. I'm just going to keep doing that because I can. I'm going to exercise that opportunity very much.
Mhm.
Definitely.
To bring it kind of full circle, I think that's why it's important to have Black people in leadership positions, because I could speak similarly. I think somebody said it's the first time I think you said this, Daniel. It's the first time you worked in an organization that's predominantly Black. Where I work right now, my manager's Black, and most of my coworkers in my department are Black. And the feeling of it alone is alleviating stress. And it's not. And I want to say this on the negative side. There's a few Black people take it as a reason to not work hard or not do their job because they think, oh, I got,
Give me a
well, they're gonna let me go.
Office, folks. We got one.
Yeah,
we're good.
And I've seen it in my department. Those people are no longer with us. But for me, the pride comes in that I have a Black manager, and I can't let him down. I don't want him to look bad. I want to make sure that he looks good to his bosses, and therefore we all look good and prop him up. And I wish that we had more of that mentality when it came to each other in business. I say this all the time. We're quick to say, oh, Black businesses, oh, when anything goes wrong, somebody does something wrong in a Black business, oh, Black businesses, you guys are all terrible. Meanwhile, if you get a bad burger from McDonald's, you don't blame the white people or the Indian person that serves you. As a culture, you don't, as a community, you don't blame all of them. You just go to the next one.
You don't even, you go back.
Or you go back. Oh,
you don't even, you don't even make a protest. You just go back.
We've got to stop doing that to ourselves, and that, oh, Black business, we don't know how to do business. No, it's just people make mistakes, and we're people, we're human. So we should be more understanding to our own. That's what.
But it's not even that. You know what it is? It's not even that, because I think we set a different standard for our own.
Yes,
right?
Yes,
because you just explained it. If you had that same experience in an Indian-owned franchise or an Asian franchise, you would. So we set this high standard. Not even a high standard. We just set a standard that we don't set for others, because it may not be a high standard, but we just set it for. So, and that should be applied equally. And in fact, how do you? Criticism is not useful. Right. So in other words, if something was wrong in that business, criticizing the business and walking away is not going to be useful. And what you're doing is tearing down your own. What you need to do is say, hey, buddy, I can help you here, or help. Don't hinder, don't help.
Right. Because to your point, on one hand, we criticize, walk away, and then we, on the other hand, complain that there's not enough.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't work both ways.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You got to make a decision which way you're going. Can't be pulling both sides of the rope. Think you're going to get results. No, you're going to stay there. That's how it is.
And it's our community, right? So everything you do is to support our community. That's organizational excellence that I described at my organization. We should be looking at Black excellence, and Black excellence exists, but we have to support Black excellence. You have to nurture it, you have to grow it, you have to feed it. It just doesn't happen by itself. And when remember we talked earlier about how these other cultures and people, they're succeeding and they're doing stuff. That's because their people support them.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And nurture them and bring them up, and right. We don't. We have a hesitance to do that, and there's a bit of a history to why that is.
We
obviously.
are trained. We have been trained to do that.
Right.
Survival branding.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't.
Sorry, hold on. Sorry. Say that again, Natalia. I missed it.
Oh, and I just said survival branding. When you guys were talking, I just slid in a little bit.
And it's true. I mean, going back to what we were talking about before, in terms of how other cultures are doing it, and it's not going to be all roses and easy the way. I mean, for instance, in Brampton, I can definitely say this, that there's a lot of families who will have multiple families in one home, because they know in the end, the result is going to be great. It's going to be glorious. So they're going to struggle and do whatever needs to be done to get where they want to be. So now when they are ready to branch out, they've got everybody ready at that level. And you cannot say, because they're that qualified, they're that ready, they're that prepared, what are you going to do? And then all of a sudden, it's duplication. So now those families or those people are out, they're going to start putting their people in those homes and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, boom, Brampton has people working. The Indian culture is going to be having people in the Tim Hortons, in the McDonald's, in the Walmarts, and whatever, and they're just going to keep on expanding because it's working.
That's why I
And the
said
more
support.
and the people are going to keep on coming.
So
It's
I
not
said
going to
support
stop.
on many levels. What you just
Yeah.
described is like the base, almost the base level of how they support each other. They pool their resources economically, even in one home, multiple families in one home. Us, no, you have to leave. Your team, you have to go. Your team, you go find work. Go find work and move out. At 18, bro, at 18, we have this mentality. But
there's no rule. There's no rule. I don't know about you, but I didn't have to leave. I was never told to leave my house because, again, in Nigeria, you could stay there till whatever. You can have your own family live in that house that you were living with your family. That's just it, right? So leaving was upsetting to my mother. She asked me, "Why are you leaving?" It's time for me to go. But you're only X amount of age. Yeah, you. There's nothing. Did I do something wrong? No, but I just need to learn. Really and truly, I didn't have to. I didn't have to. But again, society says you need to go out on your own and do this. No, I mean, if you got a plan and you got something, stick with it until you're ready.
But you see, you just described the intersection that we talked about a little while ago, right? Like, Caribbeans is one thing and Africans is another. We are a diverse, right?
Yeah, because my mom, she taught me, I think I said this on one of the podcasts, that like she taught me independence at a very, very young age. And I would do things like she was the breadwinner of the house, single parent, and she would go to work and I would be the mom at the age of 10. So taking care of my brother, doing all these things, it was just like instilled in my brain. So when I did reach a certain age, I was ready to go into the world, and and I told her, I said, okay, well, next year I'm moving out, and I had no problem with it. She was okay with it, and it's because of her.
She was training you for it, Latonya. That's all that was. You were being prepared. That's all. Right? And she obviously did a good job. Such a good job that she did that she didn't worry. As you said, she was okay with it. She was like, yeah, she's good to go.
Yeah. But I understand like some cultures are different.
Yes.
Yeah.
And no method is wrong. And speaking as a Jamaican descendant, my sister she said this the other day. She's never lived on her own. So she moved straight from my parents' house to her husband and bought a house. So she's never had that I have to be on my own experience, and she's successful, doing great. So it's we're not a monolith. What works. But it's just the idea that we have to do it a certain way that we've been instilled. That I think
what we don't do well though as well is look at what works and model it or imitate it. Sorry, right? So in other words, that franchise, that living in a house, that all those models that you described that work for those cultures. Why are we just? Is it pride? I don't know what it is, but we don't seem to want to say that works, man. I can put up with you for 5 years if it means I can save a down payment, right? But we can't seem to get our heads around that, and they just somehow do that.
Yep, it's a fact.
And it's interesting because back home, I'm sure there's multiple people living in houses back home, wherever back home is, right?
Yeah.
It's very much a North American thing, I think, and I don't know what happened where we got that disconnect, but it's very much. I could tell you personally, from personal experience, there was my sister and brother-in-law bought a house to rent, and the idea was, well, you guys rented from us. And when I would tell my friends this, my friends were like, "No, why don't you just go on your own?" And at first I was like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go find my own way." And then I sat back and I said, "Why am I paying somebody else rent? Why wouldn't I leave this money in the family?" It just didn't make sense to me. And I went with staying right with my family, paying my sister and brother-in-law.
Yeah, that's absolutely what you should be doing. That's what we should be doing. But I think we sort of, I don't know if it's self-taught or if there's some kind of history thing that drags us down to that place where we can't do it. But it's weird. It's a North American thing because, most of our parents grew up with grandparents and kind of like multiple generations in a home.
That's a fact.
That's true.
And I guess it depends too on where it is in the, like if it's, because I could see with you slang, like it makes sense to stay and do your thing, but for me it's like it's an apartment, 1 bedroom.
Oh yeah,
That
yeah.
Right.
looks like a
Yeah. Well,
penthouse.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
that's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because if I didn't have my own space, I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah, but having said that, I live in an apartment right now, and I know that a few doors down there's an Asian, a South Asian occupant, and when they coming out of their thing, it's like never ending. So I don't know how many people live in, and the biggest these are 1 and 2 bedroom apartments in my building. So how 8 people can live in that space, I don't know, but they do.
Oh,
They
Adults.
find a
They'll make
way.
it work. Yeah,
Oh, they
they'll make
find
it
a
work.
way.
I could definitely tell you a quick story. We have a
couldn't do
house in
it.
Nigeria, and when we again, it's not per se empty when I'm going there, but when I'm there, you'll have at least 12 people staying there when we're there, and there's only 4 rooms, so they will prepare and live and sleep on the floor
Yeah,
You have to.
just
I've
because,
heard that. Yeah, they
right?
pull 2 mattresses
And,
together
and
and
everybody will pull their own to do what they need to do in the house. Laundry here, cooking here, doing this, getting like everybody has a role.
But
of
imagine
some
how much
sort.
you're saving, how much money you're saving, you're able to save when you do that. And in Toronto, I don't know what their rent would be, but let's say it's $2,000 and there's 8 of them. Each person's paying $250 a month. I wish I could pay $250 a month, and then and I could save $1,250 a month for my down payment.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Again, now we need to teach that type of mentality to the younger generation now.
But we
they
don't.
learn
That's the
that.
problem.
That's what
Right,
he
we
said.
don't
Yeah.
teach them that.
We don't
Financial
come-
literacy, we don't teach them. Civics, public administration, all that. We don't teach them that. So they don't vote, they don't save.
No, it's time to change that. Change the guard right now. We need
Yeah.
to
Why?
us as people. We need to do that.
Why do you think that is? Like, what is the pull and strain on teaching things that make sense for their future? Like, why is there's such a
I think there's a couple of
silence?
things. I think there's a couple of things that work. I think there's like pride that was mentioned. So which goes with the crab in the bucket mentality. Even within our own families, we think we can't survive. We, like you said, there's our survival branding. We think it's survival of the fittest. We have to bring somebody down in order to get up, and that's within our own families as well. Then there is the capitalist mentality. I think that comes from the North American influence, where they're very dog eat dog, and they taught us to be dog eat dog through such things as slavery, such things as even in voting. Like I was reading a Bell Hooks book the other day, and even in speaking about how Black women didn't get to vote as soon as Black men did, and it kind of pitted the genders against each other. So there's always some type of systematic work to make us go against each other rather than work with each other. The house slave versus the field slave, like you're lighter skin, so you're better than me, so you're going to get more opportunity because you're closer to whiteness. There's so many different divisions that they use to make, and when I keep saying it also takes away a certain responsibility of our own, because we should be seeing through that by now. It should be at the point where we're not following this blueprint that has been set in front of us, but it's still effective. It still works. So ultimately, I think it is that crabs in the bucket thing that we've been inundated with, the idea that only one of us can be on top. And therefore, I have the house. The Joneses, you want to keep up with the Joneses. I have the house. I can't let you have the house, even though
I am the Joneses, but I'm not giving you the secret.
Yeah, I'm not giving the secret to be one of us, because I got to be the one Black person up on this hill here. I can't make you get up here with me.
Yeah.
We need to start thinking more like lifting as we rise.
Right.
That's what we need to start thinking, right? Lifting as we rise. And we're not, and also if we know better, we need to do better. And I think that to me is the bigger thing. The lifting as we rise thing is important. But what's more important is if you know better, then do better. And I think there's the 4 of us here and whoever's listening here, you all know better. So we have to change that narrative. We absolutely have to change that narrative. There's a whole generation coming up behind us who are going to still do those same things. And the economic, the economic power that exists for them, they won't be able to realize it unless we help them understand what that looks like. Sometimes we have to get into the classrooms. And so, folks, if you're listening to this, if you be a teacher, Like these, our black kids are being taught by white people who don't necessarily see what we see, the importance of what young people need to learn. If your parents teach them those things that only we can teach them as well. And you don't have to be a parent. If you're an uncle and aunt or whatever, we need to do that. We know better, right? Let's do better.
Have you guys, sorry, between you and Daniel and Tokes, have you guys taught your kids anything? Like, what have you taught them when it comes to money? I know, Tokes, you have, because you gave an example one day you went shopping with your daughter or something. But how do you do it, Daniel?
I taught it by example. So, back in the day when I first started working after I graduated from school 30 years ago, I worked more than one job, and I saved one job's money. And my daughter, my son is the same. He's even doing it right now. Work more than one job, and they save one job's money, and they make a little sacrifice. So the sacrifice is time. They both are parents, but they sacrifice a little bit of time to do this extra thing to make some money, so they can save. And the other thing as well is both my kids are sort of moving up their career. Like, they're both chefs, but they're moving up. And I think they've also seen that example in not necessarily the financial benefit, but the power you have. So in other words, right now in my job, I have the flexibility because of my position to do other things. And they can see that as well. So I'm teaching them that strive to be the best you can be within whatever environment you're in. So if you're in school or in work or whatever, be the best person there, so that you get noticed and you move up. And so those are the things I teach you. I think the more important thing is the money thing, is being economically smart and savvy. Like, you don't have to work. I don't work 2 jobs now, right? And if I go do a presentation somewhere, I did a thing for an organization a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't get the money, but I was worth $5,000 for a 45-minute presentation. They gave it to my organization. I mean, they should have given it to me, but anyway, they gave it to my. They gave it. Well, I'm okay with that, But that's what I'm saying, is that I don't work 2 jobs now. People ask me, "Can you talk at this thing?" And then, money comes. So that's what I would teach them. And I think, so we, as parents and as elders, that's what we need to do. And there's no stigma, there's no shame with pooling together with your siblings or your friends to live somewhere to save money. Like, even to the point where you buy one car and you share it, create a schedule and you share it. You carpool to work, and every other weekend you get it, or whatever, right? So you don't have 2 cars and you save that money. It's those kind of things. We need to see. So in other words, you're not a baller. Don't act like it.
Yeah, exactly.
Trust me. Well said. Well said. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us here. I want to thank again everyone involved, especially our special guest here, Danny Ankle. Thank you, Daniel, for giving us your time, your wisdom, your energy. Again, it is one of the most informative shows we've done in a long time, and a proud one, because it is about Black excellence. So I thank you very much for that. Okay, thank you very much. Again, give us some I guess, place where we can find you if you are out there on social media or any type of website and so forth.
The best place to find me, as you and Tokes, you follow me anyways, but LinkedIn, I try to keep, and it's purely professional. So if you want to know what's going on in my personal life, you ain't gonna find it there. But certainly my professional life is interesting. So follow me on LinkedIn. It's Daniel Ankle, ANCKLE. Just look me up. And if you request to connect, I do a quick vet and then I say yes. So if you want to connect and follow me that way, absolutely.
All right. There you go. Again, another great episode, and we're definitely gonna do it again next week.
Thank you for rounding up my black. It wasn't as bad as I thought. I'm sorry. This is a good way to round it out. I thought I was going to be exhausted, but this is good energy. Great to meet you, Latonya. Great to meet you. It's wonderful meeting you guys, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
And of course, we will definitely
good luck
again. So again, thank you for your time, folks.
You're welcome.
That's it for us. You guys have a great weekend, weekday, whenever time you're watching this. We'll definitely come back with you again next week. Peace and love, everybody. We out.
Take care.